Hi everybody, I'm Michael Davis. Welcome to Bone2Pick, and we are coming to you today from Los Angeles, California, and I am really pleased to be interviewing our two artists of the month this month. Two of my favorite brass players anywhere in the world. They are two of the top call session players here in Los Angeles, virtuosic players, each one of them. The great Wayne Bergeron and the great Andy Martin. Wayne and Andy, thanks so much for being here today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, man.
Thank you, Mike.
These guys have done everything they've recorded from, I looked at the range of artists, it's incredible. Everything from the Pussycat Dolls to Coldplay to Earth, Wind & Fire to Beyonce, just to name a couple. They've played together on the Academy Awards for years. They've done their own CDs as solo artists, incredible stuff. You guys have recorded on countless motion pictures, television shows. I want to talk a little bit about the amazing playing you did on the Incredible soundtrack. And Andy, a lot of your stuff, that you've the American Idol stuff for years, and it's like the list goes on and on. So I'll stop talking and jump in and get these questions going. I know you guys are both basically from California, Southern California. Andy started out in Northern California. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your early musical experiences, what got you on the trumpet, what got you on the trombone, and maybe some of your early influences. Wayne, you want to lead off on that?
I started, the way I got started playing, actually, I started on French horn. I'll give you the quick version of the story because most people know it. But my school was vandalized. French horn got destroyed. They switched me to trumpet. And I kind of had natural range on the trumpet as a kid. So I was hitting a double high C when I was 12. You know, it kind of sounded like somebody sawing a cat in half, but it was still a double high C, so I used to play a double high C on it and everything, and I get a lot of attention for it, and it's probably why I keep playing. And I still play double high C and everything, even if the chord doesn't call for it.
Yeah.
I still play. No, so that's how I got started playing, basically, and my band director, this guy Ron Savitt, was a junior high band director, was a very good trumpet player, and he kind of took me under his wing and, tried to teach me that there was more to life than that, and about different styles of music, and it took a while for it to sink in, but eventually I started to grasp it.
Very cool.
Double high C is still the most important thing in my life. But.
Well, my motto has always been, I've never heard a chord that couldn't be improved with a high note. So,
that's good.
A double high C, even better.
That's a really good high note logic. I like that.
And Andy, how about yourself, the early years of Andy Martin?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Northern California first for 8 years, and then my family moved to Long Beach because my dad, who was a trumpet player and a music educator, he got a position at California State University at Long Beach teaching as assistant director of bands. And his example for me and my two older brothers was always the thing that got me into music, because he's a great trumpet player. He always had the admiration of all the people. There was jam sessions, and they're all looking, hey, Dave, wow, oh my God. And he's telling jokes, and he's, drinking and smoking. No, he didn't do that. No, but he was having the time of his life. So he was the example for me and my brothers, like, wow, we want to do that. That looks totally like fun. So we moved to Long Beach, and they have a great music program in Long Beach when I was a kid. I mean, I had 125 people in my junior high school band, which tells you, there's a lot of people playing in the school systems in Long Beach, and it was a great system to grow up in. Yeah, so that was my up to high school. That was great.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, I remember growing up in the Bay Area and hearing about the Martin brothers. It was like a big deal. We were all scared to death of Andy Martin as the young trombone player. So
we never really thought much of it down here. No, Andy's dad is a totally cool guy. I can see why, Yeah. To this day, he's just great. A music buff and comes to every gig that Andy does, and it's always kind of there. He's got very cool parents.
Maybe we could take from when you guys got out of school and your early years and experiences, maybe here in Los Angeles, and any other experiences that jump out at you in terms of your beginning years as professionals. And in particular, maybe Wayne, you could talk a little bit about your time with Maynard and what the influence he had on you.
Yeah, it was kind of a slow go for me in Los Angeles, even though I had some natural ability when I was young. I wasn't really that great of a musician, so through high school, I was okay. I was a pretty good player. I made the all-star band and stuff, but there was guys that played a lot better than me, and I felt were more mature players, and so I kind of a slow go at it for me. As I got into my 20s, I ended up on the road. My first road gig was actually to New York, with Buddy Miles. Remember that name?
Yeah, sure, of course.
My first road gig, and it's kind of like this. I have a day gig. I was working at McDonnell Douglas Aircraft at the time, and making airplane parts, and playing on the weekends a little bit in wedding bands. I got a call to do this job, so I said, "Oh, great, I've made it." So I quit my job, this great job, and we started rehearsing with Buddy Miles, who's like 4 hours late to every rehearsal, and there's all kinds of shenanigans going on. But we ended up going on this road trip to New York, got on a plane. I'd never been to New York before. There's limousines for us. I'm going, man, how cool is this? That's when all the luxury ended, because they took us to the Chelsea Hotel, which at that time was, it's where, as a matter of fact, I stayed in the room where Sid Vicious murdered his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
So you can imagine the luxury
Yeah, yeah.
of this place. And there was 4 of us to a room. Brandon Fields and I, this guy Laurie Cole, and Jeff Jorgensen. We roomed together. And I got stranded there. I had a plane ticket home, fortunately. And so we did 3 or 4 gigs, never got paid. Buddy owes me money to this day, but he's dead now, so I'm not gonna get my dough, I guess. I remember seeing him at the NAMM show one year, and he's a big old dude, and he has in his teeth he had BM in gold, Buddy Miles. And I see him, and he goes, Bergeron, and he gives me a big hug, and I'm patting him down. Where's your wallet? Because he'd done the California Raisins commercials, all these jingles, so he'd make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of my first road experience of going, showbiz, this is great, I moved back in with my mom. But the players that I met on that gig, I met Brandon Fields, was a big influence, because I'd never played with a musician at that time in my life that played that strong on his instrument. I mean, he was head turning, as Andy can tell you, man, just like
great.
Unbelievably great, energetic player. And I got to be friends with him. And so he was playing with a lot better musicians than I was playing with. So I got to meet Walt Fowler, who was his good buddy. And Walt is, I don't know if you know Walt's playing, but he's an unbelievably great musician. And I got to be friends with him, but I always admired that. And it actually spawned me into being a better player, because I started hearing different stuff and going, man, I got to work on this. I got to practice more. So, we can all kind of trace our pivotal point back in our careers where maybe it made a turn for the right thing. And so that trip, as bad as it was, for me, it kind of sent me off into this direction. And all my work has kind of spawned from that. It's all grown from knowing Brandon and meeting different people he knew. And then meeting those people and, became a better musician through all of it as well. So things happen for a reason, I guess.
Amazing story, yeah. And then, I mean, you can laugh about it now, not getting paid, but it's part of the business, and you can learn that lesson right off the bat,
very
right?
Valuable lesson.
Yeah.
And, Andy and I, we worked at Disneyland. I ended up auditioning for gigs there. We both worked there off and on for years and years and years, and did that stuff. And you meet players there too. As goofy of a gig as that is, wearing purple tights and all the shenanigans you have to do there. But there's a lot of great players there. There's a lot of competition and a lot of practicing together and learning things. So that was another training ground for me, where I learned a lot, because I played with a lot of fine players there, and got some more experience. And as time went on, I started playing in better bands and meeting different cats. And the guy most pivotal in my career, was a few, but probably Warren Looning.
Wow.
Because he kind of took a liking to me early on. I was just subbing in Bob Florence's band, and we got to be friends. And he started recommending me, to big contractors.
Wow.
So I got in there and got my chance, and terrified. You remember your first big recording session, you're probably scared to death, playing the easiest music you've ever seen, and terrified that you're going to make a mistake,
Of course.
So basically, guys like Warren Looning, Rick Baptist, and George Graham, and Gary Grant, they all kind of helped me out, coming through the ranks. And as you know, if nobody recommends you, you're never going to work, no matter how great you play.
Of course, yeah.
So that was very helpful.
Very cool.
So basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of how things got started for me.
Yeah, good stuff. Andy, how about yourself after you got out of Long Beach?
Yeah, well, I got serious in high school. I think I started to practice. Probably my senior year in high school, I decided I better start putting it in the woodshed, because I heard this guy, Scott Kyle, who went to Wilson High School, a year older than me, and I heard him play, and he was just phenomenal. And this is when Bill Watchers' record, after that 4/4 walk-up cadenza that he played, and Scott used to play that in all the jazz festivals, note for note, like Watchers played it on the record, and I was like, wow, this guy's unbelievable. And that's where I got exposed to players like Carl Fontana. My dad bought me a Carl Fontana record, the Hannah Fontana Band live at Concord, and I wore the thing out. I just wore it out. And then I had met Frank Rossellino my last year in high school, shortly before he passed away. And he was a big influence too. So Carl Fontana and Frank Rossellino were the first guys I heard that my dad exposed me to. And a teacher, Rick Hahn, exposed me to Frank Rossellino, because he was promoting the concert that Frank was playing. It was a concert with Harold Land, Blue Mitchell, and Frank, and then Jim Cox and Paul Kryvik, and
and some local boys back at him,
who was playing bass? Jay Anderson. Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Wow.
And so this concert, so I met Frank at this concert, and it was like a big springboard for me. Just like, wow, I met this guy, and he's unbelievable,
Yeah.
And so I started practicing. My dad was dragging me and my brothers to rehearsal bands when I was in high school, so I got exposure to some older players. And then I went to college for just a second. Actually didn't enroll in Long Beach State, but I played in the jazz band.
We have the same college experience, basically.
I was denied
started going to college.
I was denied entrance into Long Beach State, but John Prince let me play in the jazz band anyway because I guess he needed a trombone player. So that was cool. And then I met guys like Gordon Goodwin and Wayne at Disneyland playing. I played in a Dixieland band called Jazz Maynards. I won an audition. I was already a bebop player, and I learned how to play Dixieland from my dad's records. Of course, I said, "Oh, what am I going to do? I don't know how to play Dixieland music." And I was already into J.J. Johnson and these other guys. He says, "Oh, here's a Jack Teagarden record. I want you to listen to that." And I did the audition the next day, got the gig, worked at Disneyland for almost 2 years, and then I quit like Wayne, quit a job. I quit just because I had a 3-week tour with Lou Rawls. I was 20 years old, and I got this 3-week tour. Okay, I quit Disneyland, I could have saved the job and worked forever, but it actually turned out to be a benefit because then I had nothing when I got home off the road, and I really was just practicing and just making every rehearsal that I could, with whether it be a big band, small jazz group, or whatever. I just practiced a lot. Took lessons from Roy Main, Charlie Shoemake, and just. Then I met Wayne. I was about 20, and you.
Yeah, we were youngsters.
We kind of grew up in the
playing
business
in bands
together. Yep. Ralph Blaze band. All these other
Ralph
bands.
Blaze.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's this
Well,
big band leader.
You guys have gone from these great beginnings and become two of the top call session players in LA and an impressive accomplishment by any measure. When I look at your resumes, which I did in preparing for this interview, you guys have recorded virtually with everybody. And we're going to talk a little bit as the interview goes on about your solo careers, but if it's possible, just give us some of the highlights. I mean, you've done so much stuff, but what are a few of the highlights as you look back over the last 20 years in terms of maybe in the category of record dates or motion picture soundtracks, TV shows? Andy, maybe we'll start with you on this one. Just some things that jump out at you as favorite memories in terms of your career.
Well, a popular one at my clinics, I just mentioned that I played a little trombone solo on Monsters, Inc. in the opening credits, and all the kids go nuts. Oh, wow, I heard that. Wow. And it's like, that was 1 3-hour session I did one afternoon. But that was pretty cool because Tom Scott played the soprano solo, and it was kind of a little all-star band they put together for just the opening credits of that movie. That was kind of fun. But as far as other things that I've done on my own, playing with the Metropole Orchestra for 2 radio broadcasts, which were later made into a CD from a German record label, which was that was a really highlight for me. I've never been more nervous. You walk into the studio in front of a 60-piece orchestra, and you're the guy. It's like I never thought I'd be in that position ever in my life. So that was a big deal for me. And it's kind of funny because I don't look back too much. I'm always looking forward. Wayne remembers everything. He remembers licks from recording sessions from 1985 and stuff like that. And either my memory is horrible or I don't know. I just think I keep the forward path and try to improve and keep it going.
But I remember stuff like that. But there's a lot of things I don't remember. That like other things like you don't know that, but this lick from 1970. The fingering the guy used on it.
Unbelievable. But yeah, that's. It'll come to me.
I know you've been a part of you guys have both been a part of the Academy Awards for a while.
Way more than myself, yeah.
Off and on, kind of. Really.
What's that experience like?
It's pretty interesting because now they kind of do it different than they used to because they used to just do it live at the TV show. Now they do it separate. Usually at Capitol Records, you're in a separate room and you feel like you're not part of the program, where you were in the pit before, and that's more exciting because then you have 6 pieces of music in front of you and you're listening to the conductor saying, "Okay, play number 3 now," because he got the word who the winner was, and then so you just play. But it's kind of different nowadays. It's a little different.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. Last year they did it at Capitol, but that was logistical reasons because the Cirque du Soleil show is there, and so they take up the whole pit with their apparatus. And so they said, well, we're going to put the band, So hopefully it'll be back next year. But we don't do it every year. There's guys that have done it for years and years, but we've been kind of in and out of there. I've done it a little bit more recently. And it's fun, it's fun. It's another gig. It's another good paying gig. You look at it money-wise, it's the best paying live TV show, but is it musically better than anything else?
So there's pre-record sessions all week before the show, so they're just playing the tape of us playing sometimes during the TV show. It's not as exciting.
But it's fun. This last year was more fun than previous years for me because we played a lot because it was there was like a musical theme. So Chicago and James Bond, all this. There was a lot of music, so we had a lot of stuff to play. So that made it fun. And a lot of times it's it can be it's a week long and you're not playing very much. It can be boring. I'm glad to have the gig, but I'd rather be working like a dog than just sitting there. The year before, Hans Zimmer had done the music, and he's much more sound design type writer. So for the trumpet, the opening credits, I had a second line G. That was my note for the melody. And all the strings were doing all their stuff, and so for that kind of thing for brass players,
Right.
not as exciting as
What about for yourself, Wayne, in terms of the highlights of sessions that stand out? In particular, I'd love to hear about the Incredibles.
That was a fun movie call. I mean, it's like orchestra work. We have that saying that it's 95% boredom and 5% sheer terror for brass players. That was one of those sheer terror.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Because you walk in, I was playing second actually, and Rick Baptist was playing first, but I walked in and I opened a second trumpet book up, and they're kind of writing for us, and so Rick would have plunger solos, and I'd have some high stuff, and you have a little bit of high stuff. But I ended up ending up with a lot of high stuff in the second trumpet book, so it was pretty terrifying and very difficult. And they have us in the front because they wanted to do everything to 2-inch tape. They wanted they wanted to sound like an old James Bond movie.
Right.
And a matter of fact, John Barry had done the original score, and they'd thrown it out.
Wow.
And so then they found Michael Giacchino, and that's what put him on the map. Was that movie? He saved the day for Pixar.
Wow.
So we came. So they put the trumpets right in the front under the conductor, so we wouldn't be bleeding in all the mics, and they had the brass in the middle, so the trombones behind us, and then the tubas and French horns behind them. And that way for bleed, because we had to do everything all together. We couldn't do any, let's do the brass take first. Oof. And so all this hard music, and not just difficult brass writing. I mean, the strings are playing a million notes, and the woodwinds are playing a million notes. So it was difficult, but fun.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of sessions, maybe 10 double dates.
Wow.
On that. So it was a nice gig, and it left a nice mark. I think it's very there's rumor of Incredibles 2.
Cool.
So anyway, so I'm proud of the stuff on there. It's kind of.
He likes the attention from the string players.
I do like that.
Oh, Wayne!
I mean, other movies like recently I did, I played on Monsters University, and there's a little pep band scene in there, and they had these trumpet and trombone solos, and so. Dan Higgins at orchestrating them, and he warned me. He goes, "Hey, there's going to be some little solos. They might want you to play the melody. They might want you to, So I go, okay. So I get there, and we were trading like a sax solo and trombone. So I kind of played the melody, and I played up high, and I played kind of like pep band guy, like a hot dog in high school.
Right.
And then I went and watched the movie, and I had my daughter with me. I go, "Hey, I have a solo right here," and they'd replaced it with something really lame. And I hate to say that because of whoever played it, but it sounded almost like they'd taken samples of stuff and manufactured what they wanted.
Yeah.
It sounded synthesized, and I was like, "Oh, there we go. There's Hollywood. There's the real Hollywood right there."
I guess that's the.
So that was a little frustrating.
With technology now that everybody can move things around, that's the danger, right?
It sounded like they manufactured a solo. It didn't sound like anything I would even play or could play.
Right.
It was like this. It was like I couldn't even play it if I wanted to. So that was kind of frustrating. That we end up on the cutting room floor sometime, but editing room floor.
Yeah, the nature of the beast, I suppose. Maybe we'll shift gears a little bit here and talk about a specific aspect of playing. I consider both of you guys, and I've heard you on so many times on records, to be both exceptional lead players. And I think there's a lot of attention, of course, to the lead trumpet, as there should be. But I think great lead trombone playing, it's almost somewhat of a lost art. Not totally, but I know out in New York, a lot of the work that I do, I'm often the only trombone, although we just did these Tony Bennett records, sessions we were talking about. It was nice to have a full section, of course. But anyway, all that said, Andy, I've always thought of you as just an exceptional lead trombone player. And part of the reason why I wanted to do the interview with you guys together, I know you're very close friends, but I also think musically you guys hook up so well together. Hearing you on Gordon's band many times, it's just you guys lock up in a way that's very special. I wanted to maybe, if you don't mind, just talking for a second about how you approach lead playing and how, what you look for from both other lead players and for what you look for from section players.
Yeah, well, I had good examples. Growing up as a young player in Los Angeles, there was, lead trombone was, you had Dick Nash, you had Lloyd Olliate, you had Charlie Loper, and you had these other guys. So, when they played, you just were enveloped in their sound. They had these big, huge sounds and their concept of how they were going to play. It was so easy to play with these guys. They're great examples to have. But when I was growing up in high school, I wanted to be a lead trombone player because I didn't know how to improvise, basically. And finally, my dad kind of gave me some clues, and I put two and two together, and I became a good improviser. And then I didn't want to play for lead trombone. I sat second or third for years and years and years, and finally, until the leader said, "Andy, I want you to play first." And I'm I'm like this. I'm like shaking. Like, why? I have no idea why this guy wants me to play first trombone. And
It's really just fifth trumpet, though. If you think about it. So it's really not that high pressure of a chair.
in the lead trumpet player's mind, yeah.
I always look at you got like fifth trumpet. So.
And no, but I always feel like, of course, with Wayne makes it so easy because of his musicality and intonation and time feel, and everything's there, And I feel that we lock in, we hook in with the drummer and the rhythm section together, and we just work as a unit without even having to say anything or think about it, really. I don't have to think about it when I play with Wayne. I don't have to think about a release. I know where he's going to release the notes. I know where he's going to place the notes. So it's become a secondary thing, like a second nature kind of a thing, playing with Wayne and with certain rhythm guys around town. And I think it's totally fun. I mean, it's great, because I hate to blow up his ego even more. Jeez.
My head's still not fitting in the screen anymore.
You don't run across lead trumpet players with all that he has to offer, as
Right,
far as musicality, the range of the instrument, playing the horn top to bottom at a high level, and regardless of the style of music. All those things put together, it's just very easy. He makes it very easy, and I feel that me being an improviser, I think that helps me out a little bit. It didn't help me at first, but now I know how to approach a piece of music and look at it and conceive it and play it, without too much effort, So it's just a concept, I think, and he makes it easy.
Yeah, I'm sure you have players you play with all the time. Having the luxury of working with, as great as players are, if you have two really good players, you put them together in a lot of different situations. So we play together a lot of sessions. So I think you can go to even a place in the music that most people can't go. Because I am the same with him. I know his playing very well. And I hate to say this on the record, but I actually will defer to Andy. And I go to his time feel. Like if something's not right, I always question myself first and go, okay, I think I'm rushing that a little bit, because he's got it. Andy has unbelievably great time.
Yeah.
I mean, he really just, his time is quantized so well that, even, I could be playing it a little faster and rushing, and it would still sound okay. It wouldn't sound out of a time. But he's so quantized and right that you go to that, and then, oh wow, the music gets thicker, it gets better, it feels better, especially like intricate 16th notes in the middle between notes, things like that people tend to generalize.
Right.
He doesn't generalize any of that, and doesn't let me generalize it. But that's a whole nother master class we could do on Andy Martin barking orders at me. But it's okay, and we kind of do that with each other. And if he feels like something's a little bit, I go, oh, that was me. I'm sorry, I'm a little low on that note. But we really, on shows and whatever, we're sitting next to each other, we fine tune everything we do. And on dates, we make sure we're locking in with the drummer, and we're laying down a good pitch center for everybody else to follow. And I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You get everybody doing that. Unfortunately, not everybody does that all the time, but like the group of players in New York you work with, you have your nucleus of players. You go in and do a date, it's going to be right.
Yeah.
And we have that here too. And there's with pretty.
When you walk in the room, you see who's there. It's going to be.
It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
If you see Chuck Finley, you're in good hands.
Yeah.
We're going to be all right here. And there's other guys you see and you go, oh, okay, we might have problems.
I think for both you guys, I mean, the attention to detail in, like you're saying, in terms of the time feel, like so important, and both of you, the consistency factor is huge. And I think as a section player or a lead player, but certainly when you're playing in the section, to have the luxury of knowing that both of you guys are going to be, it's going to be the same. Once you get it locked in, it's going to be, to me, that was always a special thing about the way you guys play. It's just the consistency is at a very high level.
It makes it fun. I mean, doing a show, 8 shows a week, we was playing the same thing every night. And then you really start fine tuning because you're playing the same thing. Well, we're playing this thing. Let's make this as good as we can make it.
Yeah.
And even the last show we did, I mean, it started off great, and then as we went, it got better and better and better and better and better. And little style things, whatever. I'd hear him, do a little trombone.
Goofing off.
Crap you guys do, whatever that is. You have this move one moving part, and you're doing stuff. But it's, and so I would get in on it, and people notice. And by the end of the thing, it's like this cool thing. So it takes it to the next level, I think.
I think and you even touched on another thing, which I think is very helpful for students. It's like you guys at the top, the best players in the world, and you're still refining the music as it goes along. So that's a good lesson for all of us. It's like this, it doesn't end.